Welcome in to Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside John Epps. We got Jerel Hendricks back on the board as always, here for our Week 10 South Carolina high school football preview show. John, typically Week 10 ends the regular season. We got playoffs, but not this year. We got one more week next week due to the extension from Hurricane Helene. So we still have a lot of region titles, playoff stuff on the line this week, but we'll have some next week as well. But still, should be a fantastic week. We had, we picked 5 CONA games a week. Probably could have gone 6, 7, 8 if we had to. Just a loaded week here in Week 10.
Yeah, and it will be the regular season finale for a lot of schools as well. A lot of the Midland schools will be wrapping up their season. Some of them already done and waiting for playoffs to begin. So there's a lot on the line for those that are playing this week. And, for a lot of teams, it's, what you got to do at this point for a region title or to get into the playoffs.
No doubt about it. As always, guys, follow us here on Facebook, on Twitter /X, on Instagram, YouTube, and more at Movin Chains, MOVINCHAINS. Our website, movingchains.com, our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. We do a weekly preview show live here on Facebook and YouTube Tuesday nights about 7:15 or so. Talk through the biggest games in the state, talk through the whole slate. So hopefully you will join us for that, not only tonight, but in the future as well. Our recap show comes out Sunday nights, typically on the podcast platforms. We have coach interviews, player interviews, lots of really good stuff throughout the week as well, content pieces for that. Get your Moving the Chains merch. If you would, please get your Richardson hats. We got some gray ones, some black ones. We got another black one up here, as you see there. You can email mtcgear.sc to make your purchase today. You can hit us up on social media as well. Some toboggans for those cold weather playoff games. We got some great T-shirts in stock. We've got a black T-shirt, a gray T-shirt, a navy blue, also a pink for the ladies too. Get your T-shirts right now, and also the hoodies for those cold weather games. I wore mine. I actually didn't wear one last Friday, surprisingly, John, but I did wear a T-shirt, man. Really good, high-quality stuff here. We just sent some out to our buddy Tyler. I think his came in this week. He was telling me yesterday he got it in the mail. Looks great. So definitely order your hoodies, a white one, a gray one. Lots of great stuff here for MTC. Love to have you guys supporting the brand. Do want to shout out a couple of friends of the program. The Darlington Falcons, Coach Jamie Johnson, got a nice Darlington hat up here in the studio, and I appreciate that. And also our friends at PD Academy, some Golden Eagles gear, got a hat last week from them as well. So definitely shout out to them for hooking us up, helping us make the set look a little bit better, I guess you could say there, John.
Yeah, it looks great. Good looking hats.
No doubt about it. Well, guys, if you want to talk about your team, want to talk about the game, feel free to comment. Love to hear from you. Jerel will be working those on the backside. But, John, let's start now with our Carolina Orthopedic and Neurosurgical Associates games of the week, our CONA games of the week, 5 of the biggest ones across the state. Let's start with the region title. How about that?
Oh, yeah.
Down in 1A, a fantastic ball game on the horizon here. We have the Lamar Silver Foxes at 7-2, traveling to Richburg, taking on the Lewisville Lions at 8-1. Lamar last week, big over C.A. Johnson, 49-16. Lewisville, that offense started clicking here lately, John, 52-7 over Great Falls. The Silver Foxes averaging 42 on offense, 14 on defense. The Lions 35 on offense, 10 on defense. This is going to be a heavyweight fight here for that region title.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good one. I think Lewisville is really playing better ball at the beginning of the season. They're still playing awesome football. They're still playing great. Lamar, I feel like, has picked up their level of play here in the back end of the season. Early on in the year, I would have definitely picked Lewisville in this game. Now, I'm not so sure. I think this is going to be a great ball game between these two. I think Lewisville's a little bit of the better team, though, and they're at home here. I like Lewisville in this one. I think it's going to be a really, really good ball game. Would not be surprised if Lamar wins this. They're going to be right there at the end come playoffs as well.
Last week for the Silver Foxes, running back Nigel Eady, 5 rushes, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. Also 34 receiving yards for Eady. Quarterback Zori Pierce makes them go, man. A kid that suffered an injury late last year is back now playing good football for them. Zoom Jackson, the playmaker, out wide, 107 total yards, 2 touchdowns. Dating back to last season, John, they've won 7 straight road games. The Silver Foxes have. Obviously, Lamar wins a lot of games in general, but 7 in a row on the road is pretty impressive. For Lewisville, quarterback Zach Rogers. The thing with Lewisville, John, is we've been high on this team now for, I guess, 2 or 3 years in a row. When Coach Bulwer got there, he had a bunch of young talent, and we've heard these guys for 2 years play great football now with Zach Rogers and Peanut Harris and Jordan Strong and Ja Howes and Tay Robinson, Ethan Shipman up front, J.B. Buchanan, Elijah Baker on the backside, along with Tymon Hughes there at defensive back. I mean, 2 really, really good football teams. And I think, I've been more impressed with Lewisville, I'd say, the last 3 weeks than I had the middle of the season. I feel like, they kind of popped up with that. After that C.A. Johnson game where we saw them in person, they didn't play their best football that day. But since then, Lee Central, McBee, and Great Falls, I feel like the offense really has came alive. They've scored 52 in a row the last 2 weeks, looking really good on that side of football. And Lamar is a team that I think just kind of has been, hanging out, flying under the radar. They had the 2 tough losses early to Darlington and then to Central by 2 points. But they have been just blowing guys out since that point. A team that, has not been high in the 1A polls. I think you're finally starting to get some recognition. Man, I can't wait for these 2 guys to square off on Friday night because getting that 1 seed is always huge.
Yeah, and these are 2 really good offenses too. I don't know what's going to take precedent in this game. They both play good defense as well. They're just really good teams. I have a feeling, though, we're going to see more offense than defense in this ball game. And again, in my opinion, I think Lamar's playing better football. I think overall they're playing better football right now than Lewisville is. I think Lewisville might be a little bit better of a team, though. This is going to be a whale of a game here.
Yeah, I like the explosiveness of the Lions a lot. What they can do with the big passes and the big runs. They can really just, bust a big one at any time. But I think Lamar, man, something's going on with Coach Burris and the boys. They're playing good football right now. Are you leaning Lewisville at home? Is that what you're thinking?
I'm leaning Lewisville.
I think I may go Lamar on the road. But I think it's going to be a tight ball game, man. A fantastic football game here in 1A. This is going to be a great one. One of those years where I feel like Lamar every couple of years goes from lower to upper and upper to lower state.
Yeah.
Both being the upper state now. The upper state in 1A feels loaded also, by the way. But
extremely loaded.
I like the Silver Foxes here in a close one, but it should be a hard-hitting physical matchup on Friday night. Jerel, comments from you, comments from the chat. I mean, because this is a massive game here.
I'm just going to flat out say, I don't know. Like, this one is tough. I mean, I've gone back and forth.
I'll put this there too. We don't know either, Jerel. We don't.
Yeah, like I've gone back and forth with these 2 teams. I mean, these are 2 great programs. Obviously, Lamar's got a little bit more history there, but I mean, they are fantastic teams. These are teams that are playing very good football right now. Both of them. We've seen Lewisville get the offense really going. Mm-hmm. Again, once Lamar got out of that murderer's row of a non-region slate, they've been killing teams the same. So I'm going to go a slight advantage to Lewisville, and I'm strictly doing it because they're playing at home. Other than that, I'm just going to give them that advantage. They get the 3 points for playing at home, and that's just what it is. Would not be surprised if either one of these teams win. Should be a whale of a game there in Richburg, but we will get some comments rolling here. We got lots.
Yeah, as I was saying, and 2 great coaching staffs too. I mean, love what Coach Burris is doing at Lamar. And then Coach Usher there at Lewisville, too, year 1 for him has got those guys rolling here and peaking at the right time, it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been no drop-off of Lewisville, that's for sure.
Perfect. What do we have? We got Kevron saying good evening. Good to see you, Kevron. Appreciate you being here. We'll talk about Gray here in a little bit. Chris, good having you in here, man. Thank you for joining us tonight. Bias Carson start the best team in 2A.
Saluda.
5 TDs last week. Hey, we got a big 2A matchup coming up here in a little bit in our CONA games of the week. We'll get to that one here shortly. Jader said, let's go hot ticket number 2 versus number 5 for number 1 playoff spot and region title. Exactly right, man. It's going to be a fantastic game. Like, honestly, these are 2 top 5 teams. I mean, they're both fantastic football teams. It's going to be a great matchup on Friday. Chris says, who in Lower State can beat Daniel or Westside for a state title? Not by chance, but actually beat one of the upstate teams. We'll get to 4A here in a little bit. A couple guys, obviously South Florence and Hartsville are both surging right now. It feels like 2 teams to be on the lookout for, but I have to think about that one for a minute. Anthony says a lot going on this week. Certainly is, Anthony. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. Courtney, appreciate you joining us as always there. Zach says, good evening. Going to be a long 2 weeks for him because the guys are off this week. Yeah, got a bye week, and you got the region title against Liberty for the Red Devils next week. MJ says it's going to be a 3-peat go Lions. Hey, man, they started clicking lately, and I love that. Chris ready for Friday. We'll get to that Batesburg-Leesville game here in a minute, Chris. Another huge one for you guys. MJ says 27-21 Lions. Yeah, I'm thinking very tight ball game like that. Should be fantastic. Definitely want to be there if you're in the area. Taylor said, if Woodford Private Schools have 2 state titles in a row, working on 3. Certainly could make a case for that. Certainly could. Tank says, pulling for Darlington County. Let's go Silver and Red Foxes. I love it. I love it. Josh says, Saluda on top. Hey, the Tigers
win
are
last week.
rolling, and we will get to them here again in a minute. They've got another big one, but they played great football against Strom Thurmond last Friday night, no doubt about that. Ruddy says, I can't tell. What animal is that, Jerel?
I guess I'm assuming it's a lion. We'll
I can't tell.
that?
It's too far away from my screen.
Or
maybe
maybe
I don't know. I know Ruddy's a Saluda
Tigers.
guy, so probably
Saluda
a tiger.
Tigers.
Probably
There
a
you go.
tiger.
I was trying to stretch that one there. Big cat. Let's move on. We got tons of comments. Let's move on to the next
Love
game,
it.
guys.
Our second CONA game of the week, a 4A battle here. Chris just asked about this team. We've got Wren, the Hurricanes at 6-1, traveling to the defending 4A state champion Westside Rams, who are 7-0. I mean, two teams that are playing really good football. We saw Wren, Jerel and I did lose their one game to TL Hanna on a Thursday earlier this year, a really tight game. They could have easily won. Westside still just absolutely rolling, played a super tough non-region schedule with guys like Creekside and guys like Prince Ave, and beat all of them, beat everybody that got in their way. Coach Lane had them playing great football. This region is not the toughest besides Wren and Westside. After that is a really big drop-off, it feels like. So neither team has really been tested the last couple of weeks, but both are playing good football right now. Wren blanked Southside 63-0 last week, averaging 46 on offense, 9 on defense. John, quarterback Colton Bagwell, 10 for 13, 255, 3 touchdowns, 31 rush yards, and a receiving touchdown as well for the quarterback. Love to see the trick plays get in there. Running back Reese Price has gone for 100-plus in 5 of 7 games this year. Receivers Brock Cherry and Max Whitfield, defensively led by Cam Sanders and Tyler Morgan on the back end. Now, I think linebacker Pedro Catitlan was out last week. I don't know if he's back or not. He's a key piece in the middle for them. On the Westside side, man, 47 on offense, 20 on defense. They beat Lawrence 49-3 last week. We know the names. Cutter Woods, 7 for 9, 211, 3 touchdowns. Sherrod Richardson, 17 carries, 200 yards, 2 more touchdowns. Camarius Beaumont, one of our players of the week, 100-yard kickoff return touchdown, 111 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, 240 all-purpose yards. Armani Weaver, Drayson Evans, just so many weapons on offense. But the defense this year has played well also, with linebacker Johnny Wilson there in the middle. RJ Livingston, I believe, is back now from injury. And then you got Weaver, Beaumont, and Richardson all at the back end, man. I think Westside has been number 1 all season long in our poll and every 4A poll. But Wren, they're playing inspired football right now. With Isaac Wigginton went down with the car wreck crash, still in the hospital going through stuff a couple weeks ago, still going through that. They have really been inspired since that. It feels like playing good football. Can they beat Westside? Can they hang in with Westside? What do you think here on Friday? And, obviously, what is the region title there in that region in 4A?
Yeah, I think Wren's got the offensive firepower to keep up with I keep
Westside, excuse me.
Westside. They've got the firepower to keep up with them. There's a talent gap. Wren's a very good football team, but the talent at Westside it's further ahead. It just is. And the scary thing about this Westside team is we talk about all the weapons they have on offense and how dynamic they are offensively with the football. The special teams, I think, is probably the most dangerous part of this football.
That return game is awesome.
It's incredible. And, that is, you look at NFL and college, you can kick it to the end zone almost every time. High school football, not every team has that luxury. You can't just do that with a lot of teams. I don't know anything about Wren's kicker. I don't know if he's able to do that. I don't know anything about their special teams, the front game, but I know how good Westside is. And that is such a dangerous piece of the team. If all things were equal, if Wren is able to keep up with Westside on offensive pace, if they're able to slow them down a little bit, great. But can you compete with them on the special teams front? I don't think they can. I think if they play their best game offensively, defensively, I think they can hang in this game. I think they can make it maybe a 2-score game. But I think special teams is what's going to really set this game apart if it's a close game. I'm not convinced it's really going to be a close game. I think Westside is that good. Now, I could see Westside getting tripped up. They haven't had a game where they've tripped up yet this year. They had that bad half against Creekside, but from a 48-minute full game perspective, they've not had a bad game. It's hard to go full season and not have one bad game. I'm not trying to jinx them, but Wren's good enough to beat them if they do have an off night. I don't think they do. I think Westside wins this game pretty handedly. But you still got to go out and play the game, still got to do it. obviously with any kind of game like this, turnovers is a big thing. Special teams is a big thing. Do anything you can to not let them return the football. You can't afford to kick it out of bounds on kickoffs, but squibbing it, something to not put the ball in Weaver's hands and let him do damage on that front.
And funny you say that, because I was thinking about it back when we saw Wren play TL Hanna. They were practicing kind of kicking it to the up man. Yeah. And it worked out once where the guy fumbled. The next time he kicked it to him, and the TL Hanna guy returned it for a touchdown. So I don't know. You may not want to go that route this week. I don't know. But, playing at Westside is always tough. A couple things, stats in Wren's favor. They've allowed 12 points or fewer 6 or 7 games this year, which is solid there. And I'm thinking with their offense, what they can do with Price and Bagwell on the ground, maybe they try to play kind of a conservative, just milk the clock type game, because that's what they want to do anyway. So maybe they have a couple long drives where they just limit possessions there and kind of hang around. And then Coach Freight there at Wren is a defensive guy. I'm sure he'll have some kind of game plan put together that'll, hopefully, for their sake, figure out a way to just maybe contain some of the Westside offense, because that Westside offense, you can't stop. I don't think you just maybe contain it. But like you said, I think the Rams with Cutter Woods, man, a veteran quarterback there, not going to make the big mistakes. I think Westside wins this game at home, but could be a tight one. But I do think the Rams are the more talented and probably the better football team this year.
Yeah, I think so too. Wren's got I think defensively, you just got to take chances. You got to be just ultra aggressive. You got to get as much pressure on Cutter Woods as possible, because you give him a little bit of time, and it's twofold, right? You give a guy like Cutter Woods any bit of time, he's going to make a great throw. Mm-hmm. And then you got receivers like he does. If you give them a little bit of time, they're going to get open.
Yeah.
They got to Coach Freight, they got to find a way to bring a lot of pressure, bring it in different ways to get Cutter off schedule a little bit. Maybe you get a fumble on a blindside sack, something like that. You got to do something like that. And if you give up a bomb touchdown here and there, hey, you know what? They're going to score anyways. I think you just take that risk.
Yeah, heat them up. You never know. You never know. Jerel, comments from you or the chat here on this 4A matchup with Wren and Westside?
I'll certainly keep it brief. I think turnovers is really the only way that Wren's going to have a legitimate shot to win this football game. But I think, Westside, they're just so talented. And the thing that we're not mentioning is they play a lot of those good offensive players on defense as well. These guys go both ways. I mean, they're uber talented. Just continue to do it well. So Westside Rams fans, I know we slept on them last year. You're not going to get that same luxury this year. So it is what it is. But I do love what Wren's doing. It's a very good football team. We saw them in person. The one blemish is by one score against TL Hanna. So, I mean, they're a very good football team. I think Westside's just up a notch a little bit. So definitely going to go with the Rams in this one, but it should be a good football game there. Got a few comments, not that many on this game in particular, but comments aplenty, guys.
Love it. Courtney says going with an upset Wren. Okay, Courtney with the pick. Okay, I hear you, Courtney.
We've seen a plenty already this year.
Kevron says Gray Collegiate Warriors are tough as a Toyota. Okay, I like it, Kevron. What's up, guys? Hampton County. Good seeing you, Terrence. Hampton County, getting that 2 seed there. They'll be in a good spot as the playoffs roll around.
It's a tough Well Branch team you guys beat.
Going back to Lewisville.
C.A. Johnson. Zeke, I think you're right, Zeke. And I mean, we talked about it where you guys have played much better the last couple of weeks. I mean, I think that's certainly evident with the scores. I think you guys are peaking at the right time. I like what you're doing there. Daniel has a north-south kicker puts out in the end zone every time, starting for later on in the year. That could be key, Nathan. That could be key there for sure.
That's big.
I think Daryl's picking Denmark over Bamberg.
Okay, Jerel, very nice. I like that. Denmark, an athletic team for sure, have not put it all together, for a big win like that this year, but certainly could happen on Friday.
Let's go to the next one, guys.
Our third CONA game of the week, a 4A showdown in the PD area, John. A very good football game here. South Florence, the Bruins at 7-2, traveling to Kellytown, taking on Hartsville Red Foxes at 7-1. Last year, the Bruins won this game 49-21. Both teams have really rebounded well from maybe a bit of a slow start, you could say. Played some tough non-region games there. South Florence, 36-19 over Lower Richland last week, averaging 39 on offense, 20 on defense. Hartsville, 70-piece, 70-8 over Lakewood last week, 44 on offense, 16 on defense. For the Bruins, a two-headed monster at running back with Trey Leonard went 9 for 174, 2 touchdowns, and then Zion Gilbert, 12 for 151 last week. Had 362 yards total on the ground for the Bruins. Quarterback Messiah Jackson has progressed nicely, had 2 touchdown passes last week. He's got 19 TDs, 5 picks on the season. Really nice season there for the young quarterback. Receiver Jaden Sellers, Lenore's little brother, is a dynamic playmaker, running the ball, catching the ball, and in the return game as well. There, defensively led by defensive lineman Amari Adams, the Clemson commit there. Willie Kennedy last week, John. I saw these stats. I didn't have a chance to double check them or not, but it says Willie Kennedy, 21 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. So great job, Willie, all over the field for the Bruins. Cameron Coe, Amari Reeves as well are big-time players for Coach Marlowe's bunch. Hartsville, quarterback E.J. Smith, 2 touchdown passes and a TD rush last week. Hakeem Waters, 2 touchdowns on the ground and a TD catch. Kyleth Miller, a touchdown run. And then do-it-all Demarion Coe, man. Does everything from playing the secondary spot with picks and fumbles and tackles to blocking field goals to returning kicks for touchdowns, man. Just a electric playmaker there on all sides of the ball for the Red Foxes. And then Webb Barnes at linebacker is a key piece for Coach Calabrese's team as well. 2 teams that, like I said, started off slow. South Florence lost to Somerville in the Northwestern early on. Hartsville had the tie with Carolina Forest with the lightning delay game and then lost to Camden early on as well. But both teams are streaking, playing really good football right now here in Week 10.
Yeah, these are really talented teams. I got to see Hartsville in that Camden game, and they got weapons everywhere. Kyleth Miller is incredible talent. I know Demarion Coe, correct?
Demarion Coe, yeah.
He gets a lot of the attention and spotlight, deservingly so. But Kyleth Miller, he is a special talent for the Hartsville team, for the Hartsville offense. They're really good. I think what's tough about this game is I like the weapons that Hartsville has a lot more than what South Florence has. But I think where Hartsville is really going to have a big trouble in this game is stopping the South Florence running attack.
Mm-hmm.
South Florence, we've seen them at least once a year, I think, for the last 2 or 3 years. And it's the same team every year, just the numbers and names change a little bit.
Yeah.
They are big.
It's a program now that we're Coach Marlowe. Yeah.
They're physical. And I've seen South Florence play the Hartsville program a couple years ago. Might have been last year, might have been 2 years ago. And it felt the same way. It felt like talent-wise, weapon-wise, it was very, very equal, maybe even more in Hartsville's favor. But just the size and physicality of South Florence was too much for them to overcome. And unfortunately for Hartsville, I think that might be the deciding factor in this game too. I think Hartsville is good defensively. They're very good defensively. But they had a hard time stopping Camden consistently on the ground and making them throw the football with success. Camden threw the football a little bit, didn't have much success, but they really didn't have to. Yeah, they only scored 22. But I think South Florence can do what they want to do and run the ball, keep the ball on the ground. And I think they can probably score 20, 30 points in this game doing that. I don't know if Hartsville can do the same against the South Florence defense. That's also very good up front as well. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for Hartsville is finding ways to stop South Florence enough to be able to win the game. And I just don't know they're going to be able to do it.
Couple stats here. South Florence, they are 6-0 when Trey Leonard has 2 rush touchdowns or more.
Okay.
So if you can get him 2, you got a good chance to win the ball game there. But I was looking at, the 2 games they lost early on, the Bruins, it was to Somerville and Northwestern. In those games, Somerville threw for 311, 5 touchdowns. Northwestern threw for 290 and 5 touchdowns. So it looks like you may be able to attack them on the back end, but that's not really Hartsville's game. Like they want to run the ball with Waters and Miller and, mix in some quarterback run and whatnot as well. So I don't know if that's the way they're going to go about it. And then you look at South Florence with the guy at the linebacker spots, with Kennedy and Cameron Coe, then Amari Adams up front as well, man, just a big time player. That run game for Hartsville is going to have to be on point. I know Coach Calabrese is one of the best at finding the angles and finding the right play calls and kind of getting, not a traditional just inside power run. He's going to have some different stuff going on the edges and whatnot to give them some chances, but should be a great game here. I don't know what to do because I feel like sometimes in my head, I give too much credence to what happened early on in the year and forget about how much these teams may have improved. I feel like both these teams are playing a lot better football than they were just, back in week 1, week 2, week 3. They are trending in the right direction. And playing at Kellytown, man, there's something to be said for that. That's a tough place to play, a great home environment. It's going to be a fantastic football game here. I think another one that's going to be a 7 to 10 point game. And I think maybe a special teams play from Demarion Coe. Maybe that's the difference. Maybe a block kick, a big return. But I think we're looking at a tight ball game here between these two. Jerel, who do you like in this one? What are your comments? What are the chat saying? I know it's going to be a fun one, man, because I think both these teams, like I said, are peaking at the right time here.
For sure, yeah. I'm the same way, dude. I get hung up on games that happen early in the season. But when you start looking at how these teams have played down the stretch, they, again, like the first matchup that we talked about, two teams that struggled early on, and then now, like, they are just, mashing people. So It's going to be a fun one in Kellytown. Going to be a heck of an environment. That's a pretty close trip for South Florence to come there. I was just down there in Hartsville, had some Westwood this past weekend, so it was fun to do that. So kudos to that. But I gotta go with the Bruins here. I think they're just overall a little bit better team. You just look at the stars, especially Amari Adams. You think about Hartsville wanting to run the ball, and that's what they're running into. I know we've got some comments saying that they, you mentioned the stats that they're susceptible to the pass, and they may be able to get some things done there. But when you see Hartsville, you really think about them trying to run the football, and it's going to be tough to do that against the South Florence defense. Yeah,
great point there. What's the chat saying? Oh, we got some Red Fox and Bruin fans in here. Tank says Hartsville defense is underrated. D-line's much better this year.
And they are very good.
They've gotten better. I love Barnes. I love Co. Obviously there. Justin says South Florence 34-20.
Yeah, I can see that.
Everyone says go Hartsville. They got potential. This game's gonna be a big one. Certainly will. Region title on the line, man. It's gonna be a fantastic ball game. Chris says kind of torn on this one. Hart says SoFlo. Brain says Hartsville. I like it. I mean, and like I said, something to be said for playing at home. That is a key in that region. Tank says two tall receivers on the outside have been catching it, Spann and Hawkins. And that could be a key here. In years past, even with the guy like McKendry Douglas, who played a lot of quarterback, they still didn't want to throw it a ton. Like if they would when they, one or two, but they didn't. That wasn't their game plan. So maybe tonight they go to, or this week they go to more of that with those big receivers there with the quarterback Smith slinging it around a little bit. Najee said, hey, HKT checking in. Najee, the boys are playing great football, man. Awesome win on Friday. They made a big jump in our poll and in the state poll. They are awesome. The Trojans are rolling right now. Huge win for them.
Let's go to the next one, guys.
Our fourth CONA game of the week, a massive two-way game, John. We've got this team in it for back-to-back weeks now, and that's the Saluda Tigers at 7-0, still undefeated, hosting the Batesburg-Leesville Panthers at 8-0. I mean, I think this is the only matchup of undefeated teams in the state still this week here. Last year, the Panthers 20-17 over Saluda, and kind of an upset late in the year there. In this game, if Saluda wins, they will clinch the region title. If they lose, Batesburg will have a chance to clinch next week with that win over Strom Thurmond. Batesburg-Leesville rolled Pillion last week 49-0. They're averaging 44 on offense, 7 on defense allowed. Saluda, we mentioned the big win over Strom Thurmond, 35-25, 31 on offense, 9 allowed on defense. John, a key takeaway from me in that game was the Saluda offense is much better than I thought it was. They played great. 35 on a good Thurmond defense, man. That really impressed me on Friday night.
Yeah, and this was an offense for Saluda that was not exactly clicking early on in the season. Obviously, they did Friday, played a great game. We were so torn about that game. I think I wanted to pick Saluda. Felt like I just couldn't do it because of history. And, I just didn't believe, and that's my fault. I didn't do it. But Batesburg-Leesville, the Panthers have had a special season thus far. They've done really, really good job. Mm-hmm. Haven't had the toughest schedule, but the key for me for this Batesburg-Leesville team, they beat Abbeville.
Yeah.
And I know Abbeville's 1A. I don't care.
Yeah, always a big
win.
About
that. They're a 2A program.
Yeah.
And they won. They're one of the best, arguably the best 2A program in the state for the last few years. And Batesburg-Leesville beat them. To me, that means a lot to me. The Saluda win last week was a really, really big deal too. I think Batesburg-Leesville might be a little bit better. But I thought Strom Thurmond might be a little bit better. And, they get beat by 10 over there at Saluda. I really want to go to this game. Probably going to go to this game Friday night. I'm really looking forward to it. I think Batesburg-Leesville wins this game. But here's what I think is going to happen. If Batesburg-Leesville wins this game Friday, Strom Thurmond is going to beat them next week. And we're going to have chaos in the region. But I think it's going to be a phenomenal ball game. It's going to be an awesome atmosphere. Two fan bases that are tremendous. Batesburg-Leesville has been really hungry to be in this kind of position for a long time. Here they are. They're in it. These are two great teams. And I hate to say this because somebody's got to lose this game. Whoever loses this game, you still got an awesome chance to make it to Orangeburg in December as well, no matter what. This is going to be a really, really good game. I ken this region, this 2A region, a lot like that PD region in 3A with Lawrence, Marlboro County, and Dillon. It has that same kind of feel, great fan bases, great programs, and just really, really even good teams at the top.
The Panthers, quarterback Tanner Watkins, he is chasing some all-time records here. I think he's third in passing yards and second in passing touchdowns, something like that. So he's getting really close to the career leader there. He had 200 offensive yards last week, a touchdown pass, 2 touchdown runs. Running back Amadre Wooden, 150 plus, 2 touchdowns. Receiver Jamarius Clark, 3 catches, 100 plus yards and a touchdown. Katie Witt's a playmaker as well. Defensively, defensive lineman John Sawyer, a north-south guy. Clarence Springs at the safety spot, a hard hitter. I like him a lot. Hansel Descua, Tyler Wooten, and then Christian Burkett as well. They've got 5 shutouts this year, John. They're playing really good on that side of football. 5 shutouts for the Panthers. For Saluda, last week, Braden Williams, 19 carries, $154, 2 touchdowns. Tristan Daniels, 2 touchdown runs in the fourth quarter to really ice that game. Quarterback Drew Arant, we mentioned him last week. He's played a lot of football there, a guy who knows how to get it done. Vic Gaines out wide. They spread the field and run the football. That's what they want to do. Defensively, JT Lott up front is a big-time playmaker. Jaden Folks, Folks as well. Two really good players for the Tigers there. I was also surprised, not only the offense for Saluda, but how they held that Strom Thurmond run game in check last week. Strom Thurmond has been kind of leaning on that run game this year, it feels like, with Blacks and those guys, but they did a good job of keeping them in check last week in that big-time win. This will be a great game. Coach Young does a great job with Saluda. Coach Greg Lawson there at Batesburg-Leesville, a guy who wasn't originally, given that job. He just kind of got it after some other things going on. Has done a great job. He's a guy that's coached at Gaffney all over the place. Coached all over the place. I saw an interview earlier, I think maybe this month, where he said the running back, a couple of guys on offense at Batesburg-Leesville now, would have played for him at Gaffney. Like, they're that good of talent, what they've got there for the Panthers. So going to be a great matchup. I like, man, playing at Saluda is tough. Like that makes me want, cool especially after I just missed this game last week. I completely blew that one. I like Batesburg-Leesville a lot. I think a little too multiple on offense. I think they scored just enough here. Saluda, I think they get their first loss, but I think it's be a close ball game.
I think
on Friday night.
And it may be Batesburg-Leesville might be the only team in Upper State 2A that can beat them.
Oh boy, here we go again. We're gonna do it again. We doing this again?
Wait, are you taking Batesburg-Leesville?
No, I'm taking Saluda just so.
Okay, that's so we can't all three do it. I was gonna say if you do, I'm gonna switch. One of the.
Nope. I'm going Saluda. I want to be welcome down there again. Fantastic environment, like John mentioned. Super impressed by last week, man. That was fantastic. Scoring some touchdowns, just celebrating in our face. Have not seen many Thurman fans in the chat tonight, so if you're here, we would like to see you comment. But yeah, that's an impressive, win by the Tigers. Let's just for the sake of it, we'll go with the Tigers here. But I think it's going to be a whale of a ball game. Going like the other one, 3 points at home. We'll just do it that way. How about that?
Me and Kevin will have to sit on the Batesburg side, and you'll get to sit on the home side.
Yeah, for sure. I might run out with the banner and the purple smoke, all that good stuff. Coach Young's going to be loving me there, so yeah, we'll do that.
I mean, just another fantastic ball game, man. Going to be a great one on Friday. Any comments from the chat on that 2A matchup? Ruddy says Saluda by 10. I don't know if I'd say by that much, but that would be a heck of a win there, man. They proved us wrong all year long. So the Tigers are playing great football, no doubt about it.
Talking
Zach
about some tiebreakers.
If Batesburg wins, then Thurman would have to beat Batesburg by 11 or more to win the region. Yeah, if we can get those 3A ties, it gets three-way ties gets really tricky because no region has the same tiebreaker. It feels like so that gets really tough. Bias says Strom Thurman had success with passing. Batesburg doesn't have a Sewell. Saluda run defense is good. Gotcha. Batesburg about 3, says Chris.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Tanks is torn about this game. Certainly here too, man. You asked me in 5 minutes, I may have switched my pick. I don't know. MJ says Abbeville wins has a lot. Yeah, that's a big win, man. It was a close game, a high-scoring game, but the Panthers still came out on top and led basically the whole way in that one, really.
Very impressive.
Chris is roughly 400 yards on the passing record. Make sure it's Saluda side. keep Jerel over there, right, Chris? So, I think Tanner's got a good chance of 400 yards to get those over the next couple weeks in the playoffs, you would think. So, a great career there for Tanner Watkins at Batesburg-Leesville, no doubt about it.
Let's go to the SCISA game of the week, guys.
Perfect. Our SCISA game of the week. Another region title on the line here in 1A, John. Dorchester at 7-1, traveling to Williamsburg at 6-1. Dorchester, a surprising loss to Colin Prep, 38-12 last week, averaging 31 on offense, 14 on defense. Quarterback John Quattlebaum, running back John Wetzel, averaging $170 a game on the ground. Defensively, Wynn Kuski, Abe Schuler, Bryson Connor on that side lead them. For Williamsburg, 30 on offense, 13 on defense. Quarterback Micah Balder is a dual threat. Running back is sophomore Grant Smalley. Got the Calders out wide. Defensively, Ty Tilton, Wyatt Floyd, and Bryce Blackburn. Their only loss early in the season in a non-region contest to PD Academy. This game at the Corral, Williamsburg is a tough place to play. A good football team. Going into last week, if you'd asked about this game, I may would have picked Dorchester. But the fact they lost to Colin Prep, that really caught me off guard. Didn't see that coming. Colin Prep's a good team, but didn't think they would beat them by 26 points. The Raiders, that would be. I'm going to go Coach Boyd and the Stallions in a close one here. This is a big game to get home field in the 1A playoffs here for Williamsburg or Dorchester.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same as you. I would have picked Dorchester last week, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, pretty much any time in the season. But they got beat up last week. They got beat up. And it's hard to think that Dorchester will lose back-to-back games. But I think Williamsburg is really good. They're getting this game at home.
At the Corral. Great name.
That's awesome. I love that. They got Dorchester, I think, on their heels a little bit because, Dorchester had to be feeling good about themselves. And then when you get beat like you did last week, then you start to maybe question some things. Your confidence takes a little bit of a blow. If anybody can get up off the mat and do it, it would be Dorchester. Yeah. But I like Williamsburg in this. I think they win this game. I think it's going to be an awesome ball game. But I think Williamsburg has got the momentum going in this ball game. I think they win. Yeah,
Coach Nelson does a great job there at Dorchester. And I have not been able to confirm. I saw, I think, that Wetzel may not have played a ton 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure what his status was last week, so maybe that played something to do with it. I don't know. But I don't know if he's back or not. He's just a battering ram, a huge force there at running back. So if he's not playing, that's a huge miss for the Raiders. But I think Williamsburg, probably the best team in 1A. I think they win this game at home. Should be a close one here. Jerel, any other comments from the chat on any of these CONA games before we kind of move into the next portion, or comments from you on the SCISA game of the week as well?
Hey, going with the Raiders, man. We just stumbled last week. It's hard to go undefeated. Just a one-off type game there. But Dorchester's going to win this one. Pull the upset. They're going to solidify that they're the best team there.
And I believe we all picked against Dorchester earlier in the season. I think they won that game. So
I did.
You may have had Dorchester. I don't know. I think I picked against them. But yeah. Anything else, Jerel, for you? Shout out some friends of the program, and then look down at the rest of this week's slate.
This is going back to the salute again.
Most disciplined team will win. 100%. Yeah, in games that are this tight, like all of our CONA games of the week, games that could be a 3 to 7 or 10-point game, one big penalty, one big turnover, one, slip and fall, whatever it is. I mean, that can make a difference in a game like this, especially when guys are maybe a little bit more nervous, a little bit more tighter because so much is on the line. You could have one mistake could cost you a football game. No doubt about that. Jerel, let's give a shout out to some friends of the program. Then we'll start looking at the rest of this week's slate.
A single moment can ignite a passion. With every play, a spirit of teamwork is forged, and determination evolves into success. Life is the ultimate team sport, and a trusted teammate makes all the difference. Our team at Founders Federal Credit Union works hard every day to offer the financial tools you need, backed by unrivaled member service. Relax, you're with Founders.
The George Agency has been serving the insurance needs of South Carolina for over 40 years. They're a full-line insurance agency concentrated in employee benefits and health insurance with an office in Mullins and Myrtle's Inlet, but they can help you all across the state. They have clients in Greer, Rock Hill, Columbia, and more, so wherever you are, they can help. Give Bradley, Wayne, Richard, and the crew a call or check them out online at thegeorgeagency.net. That's thegeorgeagency.net. John, let's take a look now at the 5A slate. Should be, obviously, we had 5 huge games. There's a lot more that we'll get to here as we go through the rest of the slate here in the state.
There are a ton. Starting over toward the PD Grand Strand, we've got St. James will be hosting Socastee. Irma will be at home against Chapin. It could be a tough game there.
Yeah. Chapin's been tough to figure out. Like, they played pretty well early in the year. We're scoring points on everybody, even when they lost, like to Somerville. Yeah. But they've really kind of taken a dive the last few weeks. Not looked great. Irma has continued to impress. It seems like week after week. I think they win that matchup and set up a huge one with Dutch Fork next week.
Could be a lot of points in that game. We'll see Sumter hosting Westwood. Woodmont will be at Easley. Conway will go to Carolina Forest. JL Mann will host Greenville.
That's a fun game because they do the I guess the Spirit Week, or what's it called, where they do the huge fundraiser. These guys raise like hundreds of thousands of dollars for, like, you know charities and whatnot. Awesome. Glad they're able to get that game in after, I think it was supposed to be scheduled, I think, during one of the hurricane weeks. So glad they were able to reschedule that and make that happen.
Yeah, and those kids do a great job with that fundraising. Somerville will be at Fort Dorchester.
A game that's usually big this year, not as tight. Fort Dorchester has struggled a little bit down the stretch here. I think Somerville is playing good football. I think they win this game easily.
I do too. Northwestern will go to Indian Land. Burns travels to Boiling Springs.
Boiling Springs, a nice bounce back last week. You know, I was worried about them after losing to Spartanburg 2 weeks ago. They come back and they handle a Riverside team fairly easily. Burns getting blown out by Spartanburg. Boiling Springs, that, may have found something on offense last week. I think the Bulldogs win this one.
And Burns has been playing really good defense. So if Boiling Springs can put up some points this Friday, I think that really says a lot about their offense coming a long way here. Teal-Hanna will go to Malden. And Riverside, they'll be at home against Spartanburg.
Spartanburg, man, they have impressed last couple of weeks. I mean, the big win over Boiling Springs, the big win over Burns. They have gotten the offense figured out. The defense has been great all year long. Coach Hodges' bunch is playing really good football right now.
Very good. Clover will go to Catawba Ridge.
Two pretty good teams in the Rock Hill area. Catawba Ridge, I think, just has 2 losses. I believe they lost to maybe it was Chapin and then Northwestern. But they played good for Coach Slindak all year long, kind of flying under the radar there. Clover had some injuries with the running back being out for a while, but Coach Wilbright does a great job. Could be a good ball game.
Yeah, that should be a tight game there. Big game here in this region. Dutch Fork will be at River Bluff. River Bluff, pretty good defensive group. I don't think it's going to be a super close game, but you never know. River Bluff can play.
I mean, Dutch Fork just continues to strangle everybody. It feels like, man, you're lucky if you score against them.
Yeah.
And I think it might be a similar case for River Bluff this week, man, because what they do defensively with Smith and Salters and Sessions there for Coach Knotts, man, they are so tough on that side of the football.
They are very good. East side, they'll go to Dorman. Ashley Ridge at home against West Ashley. Cane Bay will go to Goose Creek. Gaffney will go to Wade Hampton.
A good get-right spot for the Indians. A couple tough weeks. You win 2 weeks ago against Riverside in a tight game. You lose a tough one to Dorman last week. A good game to get some things figured out, get some kinks worked out as you get ready for that big Spartanburg matchup next week.
Yeah, got to get the offense back in sync for the Indians. Friday will be a great chance to do that. Blythewood at home against Ridgeview. Nice rivalry game there. Blythewood broke off from Ridgeview years ago when that school was created.
Yeah, and I do want to shout out defensive lineman Sterling Sanders for Blythewood. Was committed to Georgia Southern, I believe was. Got an offer from Boston College.
Very nice.
And flipped to Boston College earlier this week, a big-time player up front there for the Bengals.
And that looks like a fun program to play for under Bill O'Brien right now. Good things for the Boston College Eagles. Good future for them. Lucy Beckham, they will go to Wando. Fort Mill is at Nation Ford. James Island will host R.B. Stall.
The red-hot James Island Trojans, by the way.
Very good football. Lexington will go to White Knoll. That's a pretty good game there. Neither team having the season that they really wanted to have this year. But, hey, they're still going to be in the hunt for the playoffs. This will be a good game there.
Yeah, that should be big for region seeding as well. White Knoll winless in the region right now. Lexington sitting there with 1 win. The Timberwolves really need to win that one.
And then we'll have Greenwood go to Hillcrest. That has become a very big ball game over in Simpsonville Friday night.
Yes, a game that was supposed to be scheduled the first week of Helene when that damage came through. Had to reschedule that for now. It feels like both these teams, you just had to kind of weather the storm the last couple of weeks, pardon the pun there, I guess, because having to play so many games, so many days, you were like a little bit of a mash unit on both sides. I think Greenwood came out of it losing to Maine, but beating everybody else. I believe Hillcrest won all their games in that little stretch. Back to kind of a normal schedule now. The Rams seem to be rolling off. I think they put up 600-plus yards against Woodmont on Saturday. An awesome game from them. Greenwood has really surprised us this year, playing good football. Their one loss, I believe, was to Dorman, I think.
So,
Outside
yeah.
they beat everybody. It should be a fun game. I could see a lot of points in this one on Friday night.
Yeah, two really good teams, and super impressed with Greenwood making the jump back up to 5A this year. And boy, they have not missed a beat. They've played better this year than they have in recent years. So excited for that program there. And our hometown connection game of the week, a really fun rivalry here. You get Myrtle Beach going to play at North Myrtle Beach. This is a very, very fun game, and two programs that I think they're pretty evenly matched this year. Would you say the same?
Yeah, the battle of the beaches here for our HTC Hometown Connection game. Myrtle Beach at 4-4 had the tough loss to Carolina Forest last week. That game was 17-17 at half. The Panthers end up winning 52-38. Really, the offense broke open for both teams last week. North Myrtle Beach, a big win over St. James, 52-15. This team was winless non-region, has now won 3 games in the region, go to 3-0, and have a chance to play for a region title here for Coach Hill. Myrtle Beach, quarterback Gibson Goodrow, the baseball player, is a stud back there for them. Running back Mike Cohen's had a big year. Antonio Brown as well. Receivers Simmons and Brown. Keith at the linebacker spot's a good player for them. Head coach Mickey Wilson always has a great program, it feels like. North Myrtle Beach led by quarterback Landon Cloninger, 256 and 4 touchdown passes and a rush touchdown last week. Receiver Caden Gore, 2 TD catches, a TD rush. Drew Prince, I believe, is averaging about, like $150 the past 4 or 5 games on the ground. Really good job there for him. Defensively, linebacker Lamonte Smith, Will McNeely, and Tanner Pytilla. Myrtle Beach in that loss, Jerel, gave up 350 rushing yards to one player.
Oof.
And Drew Prince at North Myrtle Beach is pretty dang good. That's a worry stat for sure for Coach Wilson at Myrtle Beach.
Big time. And when you can't stop the run, it is extremely difficult to win a football game, especially when you got somebody running wild like that. That's a recipe for a big L.
Yeah. Last year, Myrtle Beach won 56-21. This rivalry, it's one of those that sometimes does have kind of the middle edge to it. Like I remember reading the stat maybe 2 or 3 years ago where I think all time North Myrtle Beach only beat Myrtle Beach like 6 times or something like that. And I think half of them were Coach Matt Reel, who's no longer there. So Myrtle Beach has a big edge all time in this series, but they're on the road. North Myrtle Beach is hot. They're playing good football, man. I think the Chiefs might be able to surprise the Seahawks this week.
I'm going to go Myrtle Beach, but I think this is they certainly have a chance. I think this will be a close game, and Myrtle Beach is going to have to earn it.
Yeah. Jerel, comments from you on our HTC Hometown Connection game between Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach.
Hey, man, give me the Chiefs in this one. Red hot.
Chiefs are hot.
All right.
3-0 in the region. I think Myrtle Beach, maybe that loss beats them. You got to look at the film there. Early shout out to Jaron Fox from Carolina Forest. Just ran wild in that game against them. So going with the Chiefs in this one should be a fun one. Maybe they get that 7th win in the series.
Myrtle Beach at North Myrtle Beach for our HTC Hometown Connection game of the week. HTC, this is life. Connect with it. Jerel, any comments from the chat on this 5A slate here in week 10? I did have one note too. Chris, good thing you're here, Chris. Somewhere about 50. Chris, I don't know if you know, I had heard that Jaden McDowell may be back for Gaffney this week. I don't know if you can confirm it or not. I've heard that as a possibility. I thought he was out for the season when he had the surgery earlier in the year, but he may be back. Says the Indians did not play well against Dorman. The offense had a chance to right the ship this week. Exactly right. Yeah, you're still being a great spot for a chance to play for the region title.
That was a touchdown. It was a touchdown.
Hey, yeah, it was a touchdown. You're right. I saw the clip. The refs missed that one. I'm just saying the refs missed that one. They did. But any other 5A comments? Nathan says Greenville man fundraiser close to $1 million. That
incredible.
Is awesome. Where's this money come from?
Mark Wahlberg.
That's a good idea. I got a really
Mark
good
Wahlberg.
idea.
Awesome to hear from those two. Anything else on 5A? EJ says, listen, you guys, thoughts on Northside Christian. They're a really good football team. I think that I've got them, I think 3 in our poll right now, playing really well in the 3A SCISA ranks. EJ, had the interesting, the tough loss to Wilson Hall earlier on the year, but they're playing much better football, feels like now. The Crusaders Blazers, I believe it is. Sorry. Yeah, no more linebacker in SCISA, former D lineman. Wow. They're playing great. A team that has not played a lot of SCISA football the last couple of years. Northside's doing a good job there. They are trending the right direction. Chris says McDowell is practice this week, but not sure if he will play. Okay, good to know.
That's good.
Good to know. I could certainly see him wanting to hold him for a bigger game.
Yeah.
But
another
good to hear there, Chris.
Let's go to 4A, guys.
Looking down to the 4A slate now, John, lots of big matchups there as well.
I look at the Daniel games and I go, all right, this has potential to be a good game. Usually I'm wrong, but I'm going to get my hopes up again. Greer will go to Daniel for this region game. Greer, a much better team this year than they have been lately. I still think Daniel wins this game, but I'm hoping it's competitive.
I believe it's for the region title as well.
Probably.
Not sure who these guys have next week, but I believe these are the only 2 undefeated teams still in the region. So this is probably for the region title.
Now, Seneca and Daniel did not play, correct? Or did they make that game up later?
They have not made it up. Greer beat Seneca.
Okay,
Seneca does not play Daniel.
That's right.
Is TR not in contention anymore?
They were, but not now.
You know what? I think if they had beaten Berea, they may have had a chance.
Okay.
But I think that completely took them out.
They were in contention in July.
I love it.
Carleton County, they'll host Bishop England. Pickens will go to Travelers Rest. Could be a win for the Devil Dogs there.
Devil Dogs trying to get back into it, Joe. We need that win.
Airport goes to Brooklyn Casey. Gray will go to Gilbert. Fun ball game there.
Another group or another area similar to the region up here in Greenville where they're playing a ton of games lately here. Gray and Gilbert, North Augusta, Middle Valley, getting after it. Gray Collegiate playing really good football right now, getting hot in the region. It can be a great matchup with them and North Augusta next week for that region title.
Tougher than a Toyota, Kevron says.
That's right.
That's hard to beat. Fountain Inn will go to Southside. That's a winless Southside program. Fountain Inn doing a good job this year. They're a 4-4 club. Midland Valley will travel to North Augusta.
Remember how huge and fun that game was last year? Midland Valley was, I think, 9-0 going into that one. North Augusta may have had like 2 losses. They were playing great too. I was looking back to that show today, taking some notes, and before last year, North Augusta had beaten Midland Valley 23 years in a row.
Wow.
And Midland Valley wins it close last year. North Augusta, I think they had a field goal blocked or missed at the end to lose that game. But speaking of these teams playing all these games, Michael Doe from North Augusta has 15 touchdowns the last 9 days. So played 3 games in the past 9 days, 15 tutties, man. That's an impressive stat there for running back
That's gotta be a record.
Michael Doe for the Yellow Jackets. That is pretty cool to see. But Midland Valley as well, I do want to mention this. They are trending upwards. Coach Dorn has been playing a little better football now the last couple of weeks. I don't think they have quite enough to beat North Augusta, especially the Jackets Nest this week. But always a fun rivalry there when the Mustangs and Yellow Jackets get together.
Yeah, they've played with a lot of pride this year. They did not start off the season well, but they have righted the ship and have had a very respectable season so far. Big game here in Columbia. South Point will go to Roachland Northeast. I know Will Wilson's been a little
He's
bit.
back. He's back now. How healthy he is, I don't know. I think last week was his first week back. A great quarterback matchup here with Wilson and Cam McMillan getting after it. And R&E's such a tough team to read because they have played so well early in the year.
Yeah.
Wilson goes out, you lose 2 really tough games that you would think you wouldn't lose even without Wilson. You lose to Dreer, and I believe who was it? Was it Lancaster they lost to? I can't remember. Whoever it was did not play well without him. He's back now, changes the dynamic of that team, drastically. But I think South Point, the defense, still too much on that. So I think they kind of contain Wilson in that R&E offense. I think the Stallions roll in this one, I think.
Yeah, and MJ, I think you might be right about South Point in 4A. They are awfully good. That Camden game was shocking to see how that game went. I think if Will Wilson is 100%, I think this is a really close football game because he is tough to contend with. And I think just him on the field and 100%, just the entire team feeds off of it. I think with him being absent the last few weeks, that Dreer game, they've got a really good defense, but I think just not having him out there, I don't know if the defense just felt more pressure to pressing a little bit more. I don't know. I didn't see the games. I can't tell with super confidence on that, but that's just the feeling that I get. With him back on the field, I think it changes the dynamic for the entire team. I think if he's 100%, we see a really good ball game. South Point a little bit better, I think, but I hope he's 100% and we see a very competitive game because really, really impressive talent on the field there. It'll be fun to see Will Wilson and Currents. Defensive end of South Point. That'll be fun too. Those guys will be playing big time football on Saturday very soon, so it'll be fun to see them go at it on Friday as well. We'll see Emerald. They'll host Lawrence. We talked about this game earlier, one of our CONA games of the week. Wren traveling over to Westside. Bluffton goes to May River. Good game there over in Bluffton.
And that's a region, too, where it might be for the region title. I don't know. You got 4 teams with 1 loss in that region right now. So I don't know how that's going to all shake out. May River, a nice bounce back last week after a tough loss, I guess 2 weeks ago now. Bluffton's playing good football as well. I think, May River, that run game is just too much. I think they win this game.
Yeah, should be a good game, though. I like May River in that one. I'm really high on May River this year. Blue Ridge, they'll go to Berea. Berea with 3 wins this year. Impressive for the Bulldogs.
Just rubbing it in Jerel's face, aren't you?
Hey, they beat 1-2
disrespectful. Wow.
Hey, I can brag. Lugoff Elgin didn't even play this week. We rolled Spring Valley last week. We were just sitting on our laurels this week. Hilton Head, they'll go on the road and play Beaufort.
Another one of those 1-loss teams in the region is Hilton Head.
There you go. Hilton Head's a good team, too. South Aiken will travel to Aiken. Camden hosting AC Flora, which this has become a pretty interesting ball game here as AC Flora has been playing really good football lately.
Mm-hmm.
Camden, not so much, but we know they're still a good team. One of our county games of the week we talked about earlier as well. Big time game over in Kellytown. South Florence will visit Hartsville. Crestwood on the road against Lakewood. A nice Sumter County rivalry there.
Crestwood playing good ball. A nice win over Darlington last week. They are playing really well. People kind of forgot about them without Javion Martin, this year, but they've played solid football in a good spot to make a nice little run in the playoffs, I feel like.
We'll see a gritty Lancaster team play at York, and Wilson will travel to Darlington. Darlington, they got a chance to go 500 in the regular season with a win on Friday, which would be a huge – got the Darlington hat here. It would be huge for them to do that. That'd be a huge stride for that program.
And I believe they have done that without their quarterback part of the year. I think he got hurt, the Augustus kid, a little bit early on. So they've really, fought hard down the stretch for Coach Johnson. Any comments on 4A or anything else, Jerel, in the chat? How about those Bishops? Man, great comeback win against Bluffton. I want to say they were down like 2 scores or so going in the second half, playing really great football for Coach Hall. I mean, a Bishop England team, John, that first year in 4A has 7 wins. We never saw that coming. A team that, struggled at the 2A level, honestly, the last few years, playing really good football. Love what Mahoney and those guys are doing their Baylog for Coach Hall, man. A great story the Battling Bishops have been this season.
Yeah, very impressive.
Here he says, Irma going to win state and upset Dutch Fork in 5A next week. Okay, Harry, that, I think they got a better chance of that first part than the second part. But we'll see, man. That's going to be a great game down there. Here he says, with Will Wilson back, RNA will go deep in the playoffs in 4A. Yes, he is that dynamic of a playmaker, man. He can put the team on his back and make some plays and have them make a nice run for sure. Malcolm Doe says, give us the thumbs up there. Brandon says Mike Doe getting 4 more touchdowns against Valley. So that would give, I guess, Michael would have them, 19 over, 16 days or something like that. So pretty impressive there what he's done. Good shout out there, Brandon. MJ says Northwestern game was closer than the score.
Okay.
And I believe that game too, MJ, I think Cam McMillan didn't play the first half, came in the second half and kind of brought it a little bit tighter. So certainly a good ball game when those two get together as always.
Let's jump down to 3A, guys.
Looking down at the 3A slate now, John, what do we have on the docket here in week 10?
Yeah, we've got a Thursday night matchup here. Chapman will go to Broome. Everybody else will play on Friday. So on Friday, we have got Orangeburg-Wilkinson will go to Oceanside. Really big game there. We'll see if OW is for real in that game for sure.
For the region title, Oceanside Collegiate team, I'm saying every week, I think they are very good, and people just kind of wrote them off because they lost to Dutch Fork and they lost to a team out of
state, I think.
Yeah, Calvary. They lost to Dutch Fork, Irmo, and then I think Calvary or Savannah, something like that. They played really good when they played teams at their level. They're a good football team. The Bruins, though, have been a little tough to figure out. They lose to HKT a couple weeks ago, but they've got some really nice wins outside of that. They have an interview with Coach Carter next week from the Bruins as well. It's been a look out for that. But a fun game. I think Monavian and Crew Virgilio there for the Land Sharks, probably a little too much offensive firepower if they win that game and win the region.
And regardless, it's been an awesome season for the Bears. Excited to see what they do in the playoffs as well. Palmetto will be at home against Christ Church. Newberry on the road against Swansea. Good ball game there. Two good teams, a little bit under the radar, but two really good teams in that game. Battery Creek will go to Hanahan. Crescent is at home against Pendleton. Ainer will host Loris.
Loris, the region champion Loris Lions, by the way.
Congratulations to them. They're a great team. They certainly deserve
it. Jerel, did you have the year? It's been like, what, 20-something years since the region championship for the Lions?
I'll comb through the notes, but yeah, big 2-0 win over Marlboro County this week. That was huge for Loris.
Okay. Walhalla will go to Belton Honeypath.
Region title there. BHP has been so good with Henderson. Just, doesn't even have to play the second half most of the time there. Walhalla, though, with Coach Stone has been an improving program the last 2 years. Silas Parrish and Landon Stone, those guys get it done on the ground. But I think BHP, too much firepower, too much offense, I think, right now for Walhalla.
Yeah, I think BHP, it'll be the latter part of the playoffs until they get really tested again. Carolina will go to Southside Christian. St. Joseph's will be at Powdersville.
Region title on the line there. Two teams that are undefeated in region. Powdersville, I believe, has not lost since week 3, maybe. I think they've been on quite a roll here lately for Coach Muster, man. Getting that offense rolling. The run game has been impressive for them. Playing really good football there. St. Joe's, it's kind of team that's been flying under the radar. I hadn't talked a lot about St. Joe's. They've got it going with new head coach after Chris Goodman left. They've been a solid team there in that region as well.
Yeah, very impressive with Powdersville. They have really turned it up lately. Silver Bluff will go on the road to Fox Creek. Woodruff hosting Union. Walkamaw will be at Marlboro County. As of now, we'll probably know more tomorrow morning. As of now, that game is still on.
Yeah, so if you guys not see, there is a special meeting tomorrow from the high school league. There are some appeals going on. Marlboro County is one of the teams appealing. I believe it's 10 a.m. tomorrow, 10:30. Now, of course, what they're appealing has not been exactly put out. You can make your own assumptions or guesses or hear rumors, but that has not been officially stated by the high school league or by the team or the school, excuse me. But there is an appeal tomorrow from Marlboro County. They, of course, forfeited their game Friday against Loris. They said due to some lighting issues in that game. We don't really know for sure, but there's an appeal tomorrow with the high school league for the Bulldogs.
We'll see. They'll host Greenville Charter School or private school, the Greenville Hurricanes. They're kind of an independent school, if you will. And then Dillon will host Georgetown to close out the 3A slate.
I did forget to mention, I believe Newberry Swansea also for a region title, I think, this week there between the Tigers and the Bulldogs. Jerel, any 3A comments from you or from the chat? Derek says Powdersville still rolling. Can't wait to see the playoff brackets fall. Yeah, they're playing great, Derek. You guys have really turned it on here in region play, getting settled in, kind of finding a new rhythm with some new players. They had a lot to replace from last year. Coach Muster and the boys are playing good football for sure. Cordy says BHP Bears big by 60. 60 is a lot, but they are very good. I think they win as well and get that region title. Harry says Loris is a good team. They certainly are a good football team, man. Anybody comes out of that region is going to be good.
That is it for the comments, guys.
Perfect. Shout out some friends of the program, and we'll start looking down to the 2A slate.
At HTC, we're here to keep you connected. Here to provide reliable fiber optic internet with free, fast, and secure HTC Smart Wi-Fi. HTC.
With 3 convenient locations in Spartanburg, Duncan, and Greenville, Carolina Orthopedic and Neurosurgical Associates, CONA, offers the most advanced training and experience in orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, sports medicine, and pain management in the upstate. Go to kona.care to
Looking for top-notch sports gear and uniforms? Look no further than First Team Sports. With 30 years of serving the Carolinas, First Team Sports is your local full-service dealer. From youth teams to colleges, we've got you covered with team uniforms, staff apparel, Letterman jackets, sports equipment, and facility branding. Visit our local store in Greenville or firstteamsc.com. Make First Team your first choice. Looking at the 2A slate now, John.
Yeah, Eau Claire will go to Mid-Carolina. Barnwell hosting a solid Whale Branch team. Manning is on the road against Lake City. Strom Thurmond will host 96.
Looking for a bounce back there for the Rebels. I do want to circle back to that Manning game. This is a team, John, that's 8-1. And I feel like we just have not talked about much at all. Playing really good football for Coach Kennedy. They will be tough in the playoffs as they always are.
Yeah, if we had a top 10 poll, they would be in it.
For sure.
Just a lot of really good teams at the top in 2A. But they are a great team. Talked about this on one of our CONA games of the week down in Saluda Friday night. Batesburg-Leesville at Saluda. 2 undefeated teams in that game. That'll be fun. Timberland will go on the road against Woodland.
That's a big game. Big for seeding. I think both teams have one loss just to Philip Simmons, I believe, in that region. Timberland or Woodland, either one, wants to get a playoff home game or two. They need to win this matchup.
Big time game. Kingstree will be at Atlantic Collegiate. Chesterfield hosting Jerel.
I believe this is the battle for the bell, I believe is what it is there. Two communities that don't really like each other for sure, but Jerel playing good football, trending in the right direction. Chesterfield has taken a bit of a step back once region play came around after that hot start for them. I think the Braves are a team that, we were high on them preseason, and I remember talking to them about them in our 2A preview show. Took some lumps early against some big non-region teams. They are, trending in the right direction. I think they're a team to look out for in the, I guess, probably lower state 2A playoffs. I believe that one seed of that region goes to the lower state. Okay. Definitely a team to look out for there with Jerel Braves.
Yeah. Burke will host Academic Magnet. North Central will go to Central of Pageland. Andrew Jackson on the road against Buford. East Clarendon will go to Marion. Landrum hosting Chesney. Blacksburg at home against Liberty. Fairfield Central will go to Columbia. Andrews will host Philip Simmons, a good ball game there.
Philip Simmons, a team that continues to roll, had a big win over Timberland last week. We had not talked a ton about them this year as well, but they're playing really good and, kind of a reload year for Coach Mendig there, losing the two top backs, but the quarterback has really stepped up. The Oriana kids playing great for them. They are rolling right now.
Certainly have reloaded. Pelion will host American Leadership and Edisto at home against Lake Marion to wrap up 2A.
2A comments, Jerel, from you or the chat.
Down to 1A, guys.
Looking at the 1A slate.
All right, in 1A, we've got all Friday games here in 1A as well. Wagner Sally at home against Calhoun County. Abbeville will host Ware Shoals. McCormick is at home against Dixie. Whitmire on the road against Calhoun Falls Strutter. Lee Central hosting C.A. Johnson. Scotch Branch will go to Military Magnet. Williston Elko hosting Blackville Hilda after a tough loss for Blackville Hilda last week. They get blown off the map by Kenner Tyler.
Yeah.
They'll have to come back this Friday.
I don't know, if a game like that, if maybe it's better to just get beat that bad instead of like lose a close one at the end. You can just really flush it and move on to the next day. I don't know. That was quite a surprise the way that the Hawks got beat. And Wilson Elko had a nice, I think it was a 1-point win over Wagner Sally last week. They're playing good football there. They've got a solid record for them. Blackfield Hilda, obviously too much firepower. I think they win this game pretty handily. But man, that loss last week gives me some worry about the Fighting Hawks. It really does. It gives me some pause. And you'll see it when our poll drops. I'm sure you'll see a bit of a shakeup there in the 1A ranks.
Yeah, we'll find out more about on Friday, how they respond there. Rich Spring Minetta will go to Hunter Kenner Tyler after that huge win. Rich Spring Minetta, a good club themselves. That'll be a fun ball game there.
Man, HKT is playing great football. They're so big and so physical. Their one loss is to that good Lewisville team. Daniel just told us about the defensive line's tough. Run the ball 1,000 times, have a long day. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what we kind of talked about last week in the previous show, where to exploit them, you're going to want to throw the ball similar to what Lewisville can do. That's not what Blackville Hilda's cut out to do, and they couldn't do it. So they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs, a team that you definitely don't want to play. MJ says, HKT, welcome back to the Lewisville loss. Certainly, they've played great football since then, man. That team is on a hot streak and play really good football.
We'll see Lakeview.
Harry was there at the game. Had homecoming there from the beginning to the end. HT has a great O-line. Yeah, two great backs as well. They're a really good football team there for the Trojans.
Impressive. Lakeview, they'll go to Green Sea Floyd's. Lamar at Lewisville, one of our CONA games of the week.
Yep.
Go back earlier in the program. We'll break that down. McBee will go to Great Falls. Cross is at Baptist Hill.
Cross playing really good football, man. Carmelo Jones, what he has done, just the stats he put up this year has been unreal. 7 touchdowns a week, 6 touchdowns a week. Baptist Hill, Coach Brown, always a well-coached team, a team that we have not talked a ton about this year, but they have played solid. They got 6 wins already. I think Cross, a little bit too much firepower. Coach Wright has been playing really good right now down the stretch.
Do you like that Baptist Hill program? They're always, seems like late in the year, we're always talking about Baptist Hill. Hannah Pamplico, they'll go to winless Hemingway.
Hey, Hemingway crossed the double-digit point threshold last week, John, so clap it up for the Tigers. They got another 6 against Green Sea Floyd. They're at 12 now in the season.
All right. There we go.
It's bad. Hot. It's bad that this is something we talk about every year.
Yeah.
Is how many points you're going to get. But it is what it is for right now for Hemingway. It's so sad because it used to be such a great community, so much talent there. Always had awesome basketball teams, especially. Hate to see what's happened to the Tigers in that town right now.
Yeah, hopefully it turns around sooner than later. St. John's, another team winless. They will go to Branchville. That's going to be a tough one to get your first win there. Latta at home against Johnsonville.
That's a big game, I believe, for seeding in that region. I believe, Latta is a game up on Johnsonville right now. Latta, not as good as last year's team. Obviously, Johnsonville seems to be kind of figuring out a little bit better right now. They obviously not as good as last year either. I think they're kind of trending upward. I think the Flashes have a good chance at home, but should be a good chance on the road, but should be a good matchup.
Denmark Olart goes to Bamberg Earhart.
I know we had a couple comments earlier about that ball game. Bamberg Earhart, I think they're probably one of the lower state 1A favorites, if not the favorite out of the lower state. Denmark Olar, we know they've got talent. They beat Bamberg, I believe it was last year. They beat the teams. I think Bamberg Earhart is not going to overlook them at all. I think the Red Raiders, Coach Crosby, the boys, too much talent right now. I think they win this matchup at home.
Yeah, Denmark Olar is a fun group to watch because they'll come out and surprise you. They certainly surprised Bamberg last year, but you're right. They're not going to surprise them this year.
Nope.
And last game of the night in 1A, Allendale Fairfax will go to Hardyville.
Jerel, comments on 1A from you or the chats. Wilson going to the playoffs, says Alec. Yes, they've had a really good season. I believe they're sitting there, I think 4-5 right now. Really nice to see that out of that program. Trending in the right direction. They have been a fun team to follow this season. 5-4, excuse me. Yes.
That is it for the. Oh, hold on. I got a 2A comment here for you.
Cam says Jakar and Antonio Hamilton inducted into the Strom Thurmond Hall of Fame this Friday. Cool. Really cool. 2 big-time players for them, man. Guys that, were special on the gridiron for sure there. Love to see those guys getting some flowers. Rich Freeman is a dark horse, says Cam.
Good.
They're a team that's, put up a fight against some big programs. They've got some talent over there for sure. Yeah. They certainly do. Courtney can't wait for 3A playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun. A division that we thought may have gotten gutted. Maybe the deepest now, actually. So I want to say this.
Most competitive.
I'm about to say, maybe not deepest. Yes, that might be the wrong talent. But, most competitive might be the right way to put that.
They might, I don't know. They got a lot of good teams, too. 3A
Kelly trying to get us fined. Get us thrown off.
How do you see what the refs this season? It's funny, Kelly. Jerel and I were at a game 3 weeks ago, I would say, and we were talking, and I think maybe Jerel made the comment like, it's been really crazy, Kelly. Like, we've, the refs have been really good this year compared to, they've been really bad. And then, maybe 2 minutes later, we see just an egregious missed call. It just seems to have gone downhill from there. So I don't know. Maybe we just been at good games. But, there's always going to be complaints. We saw the big issue with the Gaffney-Dorman game last week. We thought the Gaffney guy scored. They ended up calling it a fumble. I don't know. It's a tough gig. I'll say that. It's a tough job. I don't want to do it. We'll put it that way.
And, hey, we got a lot of folks on right now, a lot of folks watching, a lot of friends of the program. Hey, if you got Friday nights free, go be a ref.
They'll pay you.
They need refs. They need help. Go out and do it. Jerel, he may do it if you don't coach a team next year.
True.
I'd like to get him some stripes.
I was just going to say, John, we went to the SCISA game. The refs are wearing silk shirts and SCISA balls.
It was
different
fancy.
Level of money on that side. I'm telling you.
Wow. I guess that's why my uncle does SCISA refereeing. Or he used to. I don't think he does anymore.
It was great. Looking now at the SCISA slate. We got Lee Academy at Carolina Academy, Hammond at Cardinal Newman. What a huge game this was last year. This year, Cardinal Newman having a tough time, 2-7 on the season. Skyhawks continue to roll there at Hammond. Orangeburg Prep at Thomas Sumter, Pinewood at John Paul, Newberry at Oakbrook Prep, Camden Military at Northside Christian. I know EJ asked earlier, Northside Christian 8-1. That long loss just to Wilson Hall, playing really good football right now. Northwood at Heathwood Hall, Ben Lippin at Augusta Christian, Cathedral at Kings Cross at Conway Christian, First Baptist at Wilson Hall, St. John's at Bethesda, JDA at Holly Hill. These teams in 1A play twice a lot of times in the regular season. This game is the region game here. The first matchup, JDA won 36-18 for the region title. Really loaded teams. With JDA, you got Lode Holt and Void. Holly Hill, you got Souls, Kaiser, Gillum. I think it's going to be a closer matchup than the first time, but I think JDA is still playing a little bit better right now. Actually, you know what? I'm taking Holly Hill at home. I'm going to take the Raiders at home. It's going to be a fun game there in 1A. Calhoun at Clarendon Hall, Lawrence Manning at Porter Gowd, Hilton Head Prep at Hilton Head Christian, a rivalry there. Another rivalry renewed here. PD Academy going to Dillon Christian, a matchup that has not been played in a couple of years now. The Golden Eagles playing great football. Dillon Christian, not quite at that level. I think the Golden Eagles go to 9-0, finish out a perfect regular season this week. Florence Christian at Trinity Collegiate, Faith Christian at Colleton Prep, Thomas Hayward at Beaufort, Andrew Jackson at Patrick Henry, Greenwood Christian at Spartanburg Christian, and Wardlaw Academy at Richard Wynn. Another game that got played earlier in the year, Richard Wynn won 30-16. This time at Richard Wynn for the region title here. I think the Eagles at home a little bit too much here, but should be a fun 1A match. We got two great 1A, or excuse me, two great 8-man games this week. I kept saying 1A, it's 8-man, but two great 8-man games this week. And then our SCISA game of the week, Dorchester at Williamsburg. Jerel, any other comments from you or from the chat on anything before we go on to the next portion of the program?
Yeah, I'm going to put this one. Harry, they definitely play real football. I went to my first SCISA game this past Friday. I mean, these guys get after it. Do they have the depth as some of the teams that we see in the high school league? No. But if you want to ask if some of these high school league teams want to play Porter Gout or Hammond or something like that, I'll tell you they probably don't. So, yes.
I'll say right now, there's a lot of 1A and even some 2A teams that do not want to line up with some SCISA teams right now. I'll put it that way for sure. But
and it was it Hammond that gave Gaffney all
they did. I think it was a 14-7 game, I believe, at the reservation a couple seasons back. So, typically the SCISA guys don't have enough to hang tight with the bigger boys because of depth and things like that. But the lower levels, some of the schools certainly have enough talent to play with those guys and every week.
Maybe the best prospect in the state, SCISA guy.
Mike Tyler at Hammond, an LSU commit, stud. Also, honest Conan Banny at Heathwood Hall, a Tennessee commit.
Yeah, two of them.
Got some studs there in the SCISA ranks for sure. But, Jerel, shout out to friends of the program. Then we'll look down at our pick'em and our polls that are new this week.
Preferred Home Services. How can we make you smile today? Preferred Home Services. For electrical or plumbing, cooling too. Go, 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 Preferred.
Facing unexpected expenses and need a quick play? A personal loan from Founders Federal Credit Union can help you cover costs and get back in the game. With competitive rates and flexible terms, a personal loan from Founders is the winning play. Whether it's for a big purchase or an emergency, we've got you covered. Visit foundersfcu.com/personal to get started. Terms and conditions apply. Membership qualification required.
Let's start with our Pick'em contest brought to you by Hannah Engineering. We are nearing the end. Typically, John, like I mentioned, the show started. This would have been the last week of the regular season, but now we got an extra week. So an extra week to score some points here. But let's look back at the Week 9 leaders. A 7-way tie for first. A lot of 9s with Steven, Pat, Corey, Kane, DJ, Brad, and Alex. Some 8s as well. John, you and I with 8, Jerel with 7 last week. And a tough week. I feel like
really tough.
I mean, when you see a 9 as the number one score, something's up. Because usually we see somebody with a 10 or 11 each week, but not week now is a lot of tough games for sure. And then
if someone had an 11 this week, they were a sicko. So I'm glad to see that 9 was the top score.
That's right. And then in the overall, Charlie still leads at 66, has a 2-game lead on Ben right now with 2 weeks to go. John, you're leading us by a lot, 67. I'm at 61. John at 60. Still some a lot of time to be made up in these guys. Easily, Charlie or Ben could easily just forget to make a pick one week, and that could really kill you there. Could really kill you down the stretch. But a lot of fun to do that. Appreciate our friends at Hannah Engineering, guys. We will start a new playoff pick'em as well here in 2 weeks. Make sure you join for that. It's a lot of fun to keep up with. We will not drop the lowest score in the playoffs because there's not but 5 weeks, but we are now this. So definitely join us for that. But Jerel, the people want to see it. Let's talk about our polls. Do you want to start at 5A or start at the bottom? What do you want to do?
Let's go. Let's start at the bottom. Let's do that.
The 1A and 2A polls. 1A, a lot of shakeup. We've got Abbeville at 1. Lewisville jumps up to 2. Bamberg at 3. HKT makes an appearance at 4. Then Lakeview and Lamar tied for 5th. We've got a top 5 matchup, Lewisville-Lamar, this week in 1A. A lot of, shake-up. Blackfield Hilda has dropped out of the poll completely. Just don't know what to do with some of those teams, man. A interesting matchup. I want to see Lamar and Lewisville. I really do, to see how good those guys are. Lakeview is a team that has a great record, but I was doing my research. I was like, I don't know who they've beaten. And that kind of worries me a little about the Wild Gators.
It's hard to pinpoint.
Now, we'll say a historic program, a lot of tradition, a lot of great football over the years. So we know they are pretty good, but how good we don't know in 1A. On the 2A rank scale, pop it back up if you don't mind. Batesburg-Leesville at 1. Barnwell 2. Saluda jumps up to 3. Fairfield Central at 4. Clinton at 5. Another really tough poll here to come up with because 2A, we've got so many teams. We'll find out a lot about Batesburg and Saluda this week, of course. But man, there were some other options. The Strom Thurman's kind of fallen off a little bit, but you look at Manning. We talk about Manning could have been in there possibly. Yeah. They're a good football team. 2A is going to be fun as we get into the playoffs. Any comments from you, Jerel, on 1A or 2A here, or anybody in the chat?
Let me see the chat. Let me pull that up real quick. But yeah, Blackville Hilda, I was surprised. I knew I was going to drop them out, but I was surprised that we all did. They didn't even get any votes. So, but they got boat raced against HKT, and we had to get those guys in there. It's top 5.
Also, 2 more 2A teams I want to mention. Philip Simmons and Jerel, 2 more teams that are probably going to win their region. I don't think we've had in our top 5 all year long. They're 2 teams to watch out for, I think, in the lower 2A state when that rolls around. Brandon said, Jerel could be top 5. Yeah, a great point there, Brandon. They're a team, like I said, that kind of got written off with some early losses to big teams like a Marlboro County and a River Bluff, and I think maybe Darlington as well. I mean, it may have been. But they played really well once that region play has rolled around.
That's a Darlington team that's better than what I thought they were.
Yeah,
when that game happened.
Zach says Clinton wins, drops to 5. Yeah, I'm surprised how that shook out. Honestly, it's and it's nothing that Clinton did wrong. Obviously, just a big win from Saluda and some other folks there. They kind of moved some pieces around, but they're going to be a tough team, no doubt about it. Yeah, their only 2 losses, like you said there, Brandon, to Daniel and Woodruff. 2 really good losses to 2 really good teams there. No shame in either one of those games. They easily could have won that Woodruff game too, honestly.
Yeah, but you got to reward Saluda for what they did last week. It's not that Clinton did anything wrong. Just you got to reward Saluda.
Yep. I believe 3A may have stayed the same. BHP, Mountain View, Loris, Woodruff, Dillon. Just likely still getting a vote as well in 3A.
These did not change.
No change there. And then 4A, Westside, South Point, Daniel, South Florence, North Augusta receiving votes, Hartsville and Wren.
Okay.
4A is one that we could go probably 10 deep because I feel like I don't want to say that because I'm going to put my foot in my mouth, so I'm going to say that. But yeah, 4A is going to be fun as well, man. We got almost a top 5 matchup, Westside and Wren, almost a top 5 matchup in South Florence and Hartsville as well. They're in the 4A ranks this week. And then 5A Division 2, Northwestern, Irmo, Gaffney, Greenwood, Hillcrest, Hannah also receiving votes there. This is a tough one for me, guys. Just with Hannah, Hillcrest, Greenwood, don't really know what to do with them because Greenwood's beat Hannah. Hillcrest hasn't played either one of them yet. So not sure how to mix and match that up. And then Gaffney with their tough losses, like, do you move them down? Like, I don't know what to do with that either. So 5A Division 2, it was pretty tough for me this week, it felt like.
Yeah, I moved Gaffney down in mine. I kept him in my top 5, but I was thinking I had 1, 3, 4 set.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, all right, who's going to go in 5? And the way that 5A Division 1 and Division 2 are split, there's like 26 in one and 28 schools in the other, something like that. There's 54 total schools. There's just not enough schools in either division because I'm looking through them and going, well, they're decent, but in my head, I'm like, well, they're not top 5. They're not top 5. And
that was
5 teams in Division 2 that are better than Gaffney.
That's like, how do you can't drop Gaffney out? I mean, that's their one loss. I mean, I think they've played with fire. They've played some really close games this year. 3 overtime games this year, something like that. But
I'm sure Chris is in the chat. Tell us to drop them out. Chris, I'm sorry, we didn't do it.
You also have to
there instead.
You got to think too. It looks like an upstate bias in that Division 2, but there's no like lower state teams really in Division 2. So we had to kind of keep shuffling those 3 in those spots there. So, and then when you go, I almost jumped Spartanburg up to like 2. I mean, Spartanburg is playing fantastic football. It's just hard because Sumter and Somerville have played so well this year.
Yes,
I don't know, but I don't know if anybody's as playing as well as Spartanburg is right now. They're playing fantastic.
Yeah, the run game, Trenton Lynch and those boys are getting it done offensively. Yeah, so big 5A, once again, Jerel, it's Dutch Fork, Somerville, Sumter. Who do we have there?
Spartanburg's got to be in there. Somerville,
Sumter, Spartanburg, 4, Riverville 5. And that's where it gets tough here because I think, I don't want to say this because I know it's a big game. It's a top 5 matchup. I don't think in a normal year River Bluff is a top 5 team. I don't think. But this year with them splitting the 2 5As up, they kind of got to be. Man took that big loss to Hannah. That dropped them out. We saw River Bluff play 3 weeks ago against Irmo, and I mean, they weren't anything compared to Irmo. It didn't feel like. So I don't know if they're typically a top 5 team, but this year they're a top 5. And hats off to what they've done. They bounced back with some nice ones. They got some good playmakers there. Yeah, you say so, Chris. But yeah, 5A, it's a bit of an odd one this week or this year with it being split like it is. But any other comments on our polls from you guys or from the chat?
Yeah, and Harry Irma is going to have a chance to make that claim.
And Nathan, and that's I had Clinton. I was giving him a first place vote for the longest time this year, I think. And then at one point I switched to Batesburg. I think Batesburg had the big win over somebody. I made the move, but they are certainly a very good football team. What worries me about anybody out of 2A, like that upper state is going to be a gauntlet, man. Just so many good teams up there with Batesburg-Leesville, Saluda, Clinton, Strom Thurmond as well. Just a lot of really talented teams in that upper side. Fairfield Central as well. Chester's not going to be an easy out for anybody. It's going to be tough to make it through that for anybody coming out of the upstate. But whoever does, I think will have a really good shot to win the whole thing.
Yeah, and only other thing I want to, Greenwood, very good program too, or very good team this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point is to drop Greenwood, but I think we'll see. We'll get a lot of clarity. They play Hillcrest this week, so I mean, it'll be super easy. They drop that game, they're gone. So
yeah, I mean, the Rams are going to be the ones that really, help straighten this out. They play Greenwood this week and TL Hanna next week, so we'll find out real quick between those three where to, kind of how to shake those out here in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. And it makes it tough with the number of schools there are. So the comparison that I was drawing to myself today. Okay, you think about Division I football, college level. Okay. Our top 5 is the equivalent to like the top 40 in FBS football.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're 35 to 40 teams. You're talking about like a Duke, a South Carolina, solid team, but it's weird to say, hey, this team's a top 5 team. But that's just, it's because of the number of schools. That's just the way it works out.
But yeah, once again, we'll post these polls tomorrow on social media. So, guys, feel free to chime in there with your thoughts. Love to get you guys' opinions on some of these teams. Looking forward to some huge top 5 matchups this week. Want to shout out our teams of the week at Saluda, the big win over Strom Thurmond. HKT, the massive win over Blackfield Hilda. Yep. And then Dorman, the big win over Gaffney. Our preferred home services teams of the week there. Our players of the week brought to you by the Georgia. So, actually had to do 4 this week. Typically, we had to go 4 deep. With Camarius Bowmar at Westside, Jamarion Fling at Dillon, Jaron Fox at Carolina Forest, and Jaden Martin at Crestwood. I need to find out if Jaden is Javion's little brother. And I'm not sure about that, but he had a huge game for the Knights.
He was in the chat, and I want to say yes.
Okay, perfect. So once again, our players leaked by the George Agency. As always, guys, tune in next week about 7:15 here on Facebook and YouTube for our great Jerel just popping off on me. There we go. I had that written down. Sorry, buddy, I missed it. Shout out to our Mr. Football finalists announced last week. Malik Clark at Rock Hill, Marquez Henderson at Belton Honeypath, Shed Surratt at Gaffney, Will Wilson at R&E, and Cutter Woods at Westside. Lots of really talented guys. Shout out to them. That was announced by the Touchstone Energy Bowl North-South game there. Put out the Mr. Football finalists. Definitely appreciate that and look forward to seeing who wins that here in about a month and a half or so, I guess, now. But, guys, follow us on Facebook, Twitter /X, Instagram, YouTube, and more at Movin Chains, MOVINCHAINS. MovinChains.com is our website. Podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. We'll have our live preview show next Tuesday night about 7:15 on Facebook and YouTube. Join us for that for Week 11. Our recap show will come out Sunday on the podcast platforms. We'll have coach interviews, player interviews, great stuff all throughout. Our food review Friday is going to be a lot of fun to drop that this week. Some great hot dogs last week. Get your MTC merch. We got some great toboggans, a black and gray toboggan there, some great Richardson hats. We got a gray front, a black front like you see up there as well. You can email mtcgear.sc@gmail.com. Love to have you purchase some of that stuff here, or you just email or message us on social media is fine too. Our t-shirts, a nice front pocket there with the small logo, large logo on the back. We got a black, a gray, a navy blue, and a pink as well. Some great hoodies, a gray hoodie here, same design, front logo small, big logo on the back. Also have one in kind of this ash, lighter, whitish color. So definitely order yours now. Get yours in time for the playoff stretch. Love to have you guys supporting us and help us make the show better and better. John, Jerel, any final thoughts here on Week 10 as we wrap up and get ready for what should be a huge slate of ball games?
Yeah, I'm ready for these region championships. Can't wait to get down to Saluda Friday. If I hear some chatter about who I picked, I totally understand. I welcome it with open arms. I'm looking forward to a great game and a great atmosphere.
Jerel, anything from you here on the wrap up the Week 10 show?
No, we're not skating by this. Everybody's asking who you guys got winning Mr. Football this year.
Ooh. Wait, can you throw it back up there again? It's Cutter.
I
Will
sure
Wilson,
can.
Malik Clark,
Marquez, and Shed Surratt as well. You know, from years past, typically it has to be
not the political answer, Kevin. We need the real answer.
Who I want to win, or who I think should win, or who is going to win?
I'm just messing with you, man. Just pick a guy.
I think the winner is going to be Cutter Woods. I believe Cutter is going to be chosen to win. All these guys are certainly deserving. Honestly, I wish they would have made it 10 deep for the nominees. I mean, we have so many great players across the state.
They could have this.
Any of these guys certainly could. But I think, Chris, offensive lineman, wins it. They did last year. You could certainly see back-to-back. Josiah Thompson, the starting left tackle for the Gamecocks, won last year out of Dillon. Shed Surratt, another Gamecock commit, certainly could win it this season. Would not be surprised if that is the case. John, who do you think? Who do you like in this year's Mr. Football finalist?
I am leaning, and I'm going with who I think is going to win, not necessarily who I think should win. Actually, you know what? It might be the both. It might
Okay.
I think Marquise Henderson's going to win it.
Ooh, a Clemson commit, huh? I don't think that's going to happen.
Tough in Columbia.
I'm going Shed Surratt. But
I like that.
I think Shed's going to win it.
I love it. It should be a lot of fun. But as always, guys, Moving the Chains is brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Appreciate you guys joining us. As always, looking forward to a great week of football. For Jerel, Hendricks, and John Epps, I'm Kevin Thomas. This has been our Week 10 South Carolina High School Football preview show here on Moving the Chains. We will catch you guys next week.
Get ready for the ultimate South Carolina high school football experience with Movin The Chains. From previews to recaps, we've got you covered. Dive into our expert preview shows, predicting winners and sharing insights. Then join us post-game for the thrilling recaps, exclusive interviews, and highlights you won't find anywhere else. Plus,